Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at in your time zones, and welcome to part one of our International Student Orientation, the Undergraduate Student Information Session. So once again, we would first really warmly like to congratulate you on your acceptance to SFU. And if you're still waiting to hear about your admission status, we do hope that you will hear some good news soon. We're super pleased that you've chosen SFU as part of your academic journey, and we sincerely hope that your experience here will exceed your experiences and expectations. For those of you who are watching the recording, please do note that the auto caption functionality may not be 100% accurate, but hopefully you'll get the gist of things. We would like to respectfully acknowledge that Simon Fraser University is located on the stolen unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Quatsi, Coquitlam, Kaike, Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, and Tsawwassen nations. What I've just shared is a land acknowledgement. Some of you may be familiar with the concept, and for others, perhaps it's new. Here at SFU, we acknowledge that the land that we're on must be honored. The Indigenous peoples who have lived and worked on this land historically and presently continue to have the rights and freedoms that they should. And we would like to spread awareness of land rights, being a settler colonial society that we live in right now. So before we get into the juicy details of this session, the four of us would like to introduce ourselves, and I'll begin with myself. My name is Zoreen Nurani, and I am a student transition educator for our unit here at International Services for Students. Over to you, Ishani.
Thanks, Zoreen. So my name is Ishani. I'm an International Student Experience Coordinator with the ISS team, and I'll be presenting on some non-immigration related topics today. I was also a former international student at SFU, so I'm always really excited to welcome new international students to the community. Jitender.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session today. My name is Jitender Sharma, and I work as an international student advisor, immigration specialist at SFU. So hopefully I will be able to answer all your questions about immigration today. Thank you.
Rebecca, if you would like to go next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mawako Orteki. I'm one of the International Student Advisor Immigration Specialists. I'm really excited to share the space with you today. Off to Ali.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Ali. I'm joining you today on behalf of Student Care. We are the administrator of the SFU Health and Dental Plan, and I'll be giving you a presentation on your secondary medical insurance today.
Thank you, Ishani, Jitinder, Mawako, and Ali. So let's begin with our sharing, starting with what International Services for Students, also known as ISS, can do to support you in your journey here at SFU. Ishani, can you share with us?
Yes. So International Services for Students, or ISS, as we commonly refer to it, is a key resource for international students at SFU. So our team consists of regulated Canadian immigration consultants, such as Jitender and Mimika, who are on the panel today. And these advisors are licensed to provide you with advice relating to study permits, visas, and your ability to work in Canada. We can also offer advice on medical insurance and navigating the Canadian healthcare system. We also offer transition support to new international students, and you'll hear about some of these initiatives a bit later on in the presentation. Our office also administers study abroad programs, such as international exchanges and field schools, if you would like to explore those opportunities. And we also offer unique support to refugee and newcomer students. So you can connect with our team in multiple ways. So we offer both in-person and virtual appointments at all 3 SFU campuses. And if you're currently based outside of Canada, you can still get in touch with us through those virtual advising modes. You can always send us an email as well. And our website also has a wealth of resources on various topics relevant to international students that you can explore yourself. And one of the resources that I would like to highlight today are the welcome guides that we have specifically for international students. So we have 5 guides tailored for the different international pathways, and they all come with a step-by-step checklist of what you should be doing depending on your category to make sure that you're not missing out on anything important as you prepare for your time at SFU. So we encourage you to check these guides out. Is that
Okay.
right?
Thank you. So now we're going to address some immigration-related information. The next set of slides and presentation will address 10 questions over approximately the next 30 minutes. These questions and answers will help to set you up in a good way as an international student coming to SFU. Let's get started, okay, Jatinder? So question number 1. Would I need both a study permit and a visa to study in Canada?
Thank you, Zareen, for the question. So before I answer the question, I would like to emphasize that the information that we discussed today is current only as of today's date. If you also look at the presentation slide at the bottom of the page, it is mentioned that the information in this presentation is accurate as of July 11, 2024. Now, to answer your question, most foreign nationals need a study permit to study in Canada. Please also note that your study permit is not a travel document. While your study permit lets you study in Canada, you would need a visitor visa or ETA to enter Canada. If you have applied for your study permit from outside of Canada, you will receive a visa or ETA when your study permit application is approved. Thank you.
Great. Question number 2. If I have a valid study permit and will transfer to SFU from another Canadian college or university, do I need to apply for a new study permit?
Thanks again, Zoreen, for the question. So if you have a valid study permit and if you are transferring to SFU from another Canadian college or university, such as FIC, you can continue to use the same study permit. You would, however, need to complete the Designating Learning Institute transfer or DLI transfer to let IRCC know that you will be studying at a different institute. The DLI transfer process can be completed online by logging into your secure IRCC account. Now, also as an international student, you must have a valid study permit throughout the duration of your program. So in case your study permit will expire in the next 3 to 5 months, we recommend that you apply for the extension at the earliest. The resources for extending on how to extend your study permit can be found on our website, which will be shared later. Also, in case you are transferring from, let's say, FIC to SFU, and if your current study permit doesn't allow you to work off campus, and if you would like to work off campus, you would need to apply for a new study permit. Thank you.
Great. Moving on to question 3. What conditions must I comply with as an international student in Canada?
Yeah, thank you, Zorn. This is an important question for international students. So as a study permit holder, international student must be enrolled at your DLI. You should be actively pursuing your program. So what does mean by actively pursuing your program? It means that you should be enrolled full-time or part-time during each academic term and make reasonable progress towards the completion of your program. You should also inform IRCC in case you would be changing your institution. You should also remain enrolled in every academic session, with the exception of scheduled break or leave of absence. Thank you.
Question 4. Are international students eligible to work while pursuing their program in Canada?
Yeah, I think that's an important question because a lot of students would like to work on campus or off campus and would like to gain some Canadian experience while pursuing the program. But the good news is that international students are eligible to work on and off campus using their study permit. So for example, in order to work on campus during academic terms, which is spring and fall for undergrad student, you would need to meet certain conditions. The first condition is that you should have valid study permit with a condition that says you can accept employment on and off campus. You should have valid SIN number. You should be enrolled full time. So what does full-time means? So for undergrad student, it means you should be enrolled minimum of 9 units to be considered full-time. You can also see some of the examples of on-campus employer on this slide. So for example, if you're working on a school premises, if you're working for a faculty member, if you're working as a self-employment, but on the campus, these are all examples of on-campus employer. Can we go to the next slide, please? Similarly to on-campus, to be eligible to work off-campus, you would need to meet certain conditions. That would be similar to the on-campus, that you should have valid study permit with the work condition, full-time enrollment, you should have valid social insurance number, and you should be pursuing a degree, diploma, or certificate that is at least 6 months. As an international student, you can work up to 20 hours off campus, but beginning fall, it is expected that the number of off-campus hours are going to increase to 24. We will provide more information once it becomes available. You can also work full-time during scheduled breaks, break between terms, or reading break. So what does break between terms mean? So let's say if your spring semester ends on 24th of April, and if your next semester starts in 7th of May. So during that time, you can work full-time. You can also work full-time during scheduled break. So scheduled break, what does that mean? So for a schedule, for example, for undergrad students, summer is considered scheduled break, provided you are full-time a semester before and after. So let's say if you were full-time in spring and fall of 2024, the summer would consider a scheduled break and you would be able to work full-time during that. So I know it could be a lot of information, so feel free to connect with us when it is time for you to be in summer break. Next slide, please. So in addition to on and off campus, you could also gain some experience as a co-op student. So a co-op work permit allows you to work full-time during an academic term if work is required for your program, and this work is approved by your program or your department. If co-op is not mandatory for your program, you can still apply to co-op program in your department. Once you have been accepted into the co-op program, you would need to apply for co-op work permit before you can start working as a co-op student. I hope that was important information and that was clear. Thank you, and Zareen, can we go to the next question?
Yeah, thank you, Jatinder. So now that you have a bit of information of some opportunities of what you might be able to do while you're studying, maybe fast forward, you've now finished your degree and you're maybe wondering, question number 5, how can I stay in Canada after the completion of my program and gain Canadian work experience?
Thank you, Zareen. I think this is, again, one of the most important questions, as a lot of students would like to stay in Canada and gain some experience after they complete their program. Unfortunately, you have option in terms of post-graduation work permit. So post-graduation work permit allows you to remain in Canada after you complete your program. Now, remember that post-graduation work permit is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, which basically means you can apply for PGWP only once. So let's say if you have plans to pursue a graduate program after your undergrad program, in case you apply for PGWP after your bachelor's, you will not be able to apply again after completing your master program. Now, to remain eligible for post-graduation work permit, you need to meet certain criteria. So first criteria is that you should complete a program from DLI, such as SFU, which is 8 months or longer. You should be full-time in every academic term, which means spring and fall for undergrad student, with the possible exception of final term, in which you could be part-time. So as long as you continue to meet those criteria, you would be able to apply for PGWP upon completion of your program. The length of the post-graduation work permit is maximum 3 years. So as undergrad program, which is 4 years, you would be qualified for the maximum length of post-graduation work permit, which is 3 years, which gives you enough time to gain valuable Canadian experience which you would be able to utilize in many aspects in your life. Thank you.
So just like any other country in the world, everyone has their own policy. So here in Canada, while you are here, this is an interesting list that you should keep in mind. So Jatinder, what documents in particular do I need to carry while traveling to Canada?
Thank you, Zorin, for that question. So yes, so if you would be traveling to any foreign country, you need to make sure that you are carrying all the documents required for a gainful entry into Canada. So as an international student, before you travel to Canada, make sure you are eligible to enter Canada. So first thing is that you should have valid approved study permit and visa or ETA, depending upon your country of nationality. Apart from that, you would need following documents. You need to have valid travel documents such as passport, a valid study permit or letter of introduction, a copy of valid letter of acceptance from your school, which is SFU, a valid ETA or valid visa. In case you are a US citizen, you would be able to enter using your green card, proof of funds to support your stay in Canada. Also, some of you might have gone through the medical examination while submitting your application. So make sure that you have your medical exams are valid when you're traveling to Canada. I also want to emphasize that some airports have a special processing area for international students arriving in Canada. So please watch for signage that might be directing you to designated area. Also, if you are traveling with a letter of introduction, you will be receiving your study permit at the airport. Before leaving the processing desk, make sure to review the information on your study permit. So for example, if your name is correct, if your date of birth is correct, does your study permit has a condition that allows you to work on and off campus? Sometimes if there is a large group of students are traveling at the same time, some of the information might be incorrect. So it is important that you verify that information before leaving the airport.
So let's say you've followed all the rules, you're all ready to go, and you're super excited. So now, question number 7, Jatinder, how soon can I travel to Canada?
Yeah, we get this question a lot. So if your study permit is approved like 3 to 4 months before the start of the session, how soon you can travel to Canada? So while there is no set time frame for you to arrive in Canada before starting your program, you should just arrive to give yourself reasonable amount of time to prepare before you start studying. Now, what does reasonable amount of time means? It could mean different for different people. In the past, the reasonable amount time would be like around 30 days before the start of your program. In fact, in the previous year, some of the consulates, Canadian consulate outside of Canada, has suggested not to travel before 30 days. But I also understand sometimes if you're traveling with your family or you might need a longer time to establish yourself in Canada before starting your program. So if you would like to travel before 30 days, you should be able to explain to border officer what are the reasons because of which you want to travel early, right? Sometimes because they might have a question of that. So as long as you're able to establish your reason for traveling early, it should be okay. But in general, 30 days probably would be a good time.
And just to be safe, what happens if my study permit's not approved in time?
Yeah, I think, when I was looking at the poll at the beginning of the session, I saw that some of you are still waiting for a decision on your study permit. It's a good thing that most of you have your study permit approved already. So in case you are facing delay with the study permit approval, there are a couple of options that you could consider. So first option, the safest one is you could apply for a deferral. So the deferral deadline you can see on the slide are between July 1st and August 15. Now, admission have also mentioned that they might be able to consider deferral beyond August 15 if your circumstances are extenuating. So if you have difficult circumstances and if you are able to prove that you were not able to apply for deferral before August 15, please provide documentation to admission, and they might be able to accept your deferral beyond August 15. Please do note that it is not guaranteed. The other option could include starting your program late. So the fall session is expected to start on September 7, I believe. So you might, if in case you're still waiting for your study permit, you might want to check with your academic or your program advisor how late you're able to start your program. Another option could be to check if there are any remote courses that you can take for your first term, and then you can start your program from your home country. Now, in case you are planning to take option number 2 or 3, which is starting your program late or remotely from outside of Canada, there are a few things that you should consider. The first thing is the approval of study permit is not guaranteed, right? There could be some cases where we might face rejection for study permit application. So in case you start your program remotely, you might not be able to get refund for the courses that you would take for your first term. So it is important to consider the refund deadlines. So for example, September 10th is the deadline to apply for 100% refund. So in case you start your program online and in case you don't have a decision by September 10, I think it's important for you to make a decision. Do you want to go on pursue those courses, or you would like to drop courses and probably apply for deferral? Another question, the important consideration would be feasibility with remote learning. So for example, if you are starting your program from your home country, there could be considerable time difference in Canada and your home country, sometime 10 hours, 14 hours. So ask yourself, are you comfortable taking those courses with that time differences? For most of us, like, it might not be easier to study in the middle of the night and take remote courses, right? And another is your impact on your post-graduation work permit. So I mentioned in my earlier slide that the maximum length of post-graduation work permit is 3 years. Now, to qualify for 3 years of work permit, you should complete at least 2 years of program, and you should complete at least 50% of your program from inside Canada. So as an undergrad student, since your program is for 4 years, so there is not considerable impact on your post-graduation work permit in case you complete one semester from outside. You will still be completing at least more than 2 years in Canada, so you will continue to remain eligible for 3 years of post-graduation work permit. But yes, you should consider refund and the time differences in case you go for option 2 or 3. I hope that was useful.
Yeah, that's a lot of really great tips. And if you didn't catch them all, don't worry. We will have a recording and you can re-listen to it again. So what if I have an approved visitor visa? Can I travel to Canada with a visitor visa and start my program?
So the short answer to this question is yes, that you can travel to Canada as a visitor, but the important question is, would you be able to start your program as a visitor in Canada? And the answer to that question is no. You need a valid study permit before you can pursue your program in Canada. So even though you would be able to travel as a visitor, you will not be able to start your program in Canada. So also, the border officer would make a final determination if they would allow you to enter Canada as a visitor when your main intention to enter Canada is a study. So IRCC normally recommend that you should not travel to Canada until your study permit is approved if your intention is to pursue a program in Canada.
Our final immigration-related question for this portion of our presentation is question number 10. In case my study permit application is refused, do I need a new provincial attestation letter, a PAL, to reapply?
Thank you, Zorin, for the last question. So even though we would like all of your study permit to be approved, the reality is that there could be some refusal for a variety of reasons. Now, in case you would be reapplying for your study permit, you would continue to use the same provisional attestation letter as long as it is valid. So you would be able to find the expiration date for the PAL on the PAL itself. So I believe that your PAL is valid until January 21st, 2025. So as long as you apply or submit your study permit application before that deadline, you would be able to use the same PAL and you don't have to request SFU for a new PAL. I think another question is that would you need a different acceptance letter in case you need to reapply? So that will depend. So for example, in case your study permit is refused and you need to defer to the next available intake, you will receive a new letter from the admission. So even though you can just submit your application with your previous, and as and when your new letter of acceptance becomes available, you can provide to IRCC through the web form, because in this case, you would be starting your program at a different date, which is originally mentioned on your original letter of acceptance. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jatinder, for taking us through all 10 of those questions and providing some really key information. So now we're going to switch gears. Medical insurance is another important topic for international students. Ishani, can you explain how that works?
Yes, Zareen, indeed, medical insurance is a very important topic. And in my day-to-day work with students, I come across cases where students are in various difficulties because they didn't realize the steps they had to take with medical insurance. So as international students, you must have adequate medical insurance for the entire duration of your studies. So if you do have any family members joining you as well, they also need to make sure that they have proper coverage during their stay in Canada. So medical services can be extremely costly if you don't have proper insurance. For example, the BCMSP website indicates that a single hospital night can exceed $1,000 a day. As such, it is in your best interest, as well as it's your responsibility to ensure that you have proper coverage at all times. So there are two types of insurance, primary and secondary. So the difference between the two is that the primary medical insurance covers medically necessary services, such as visits to doctors, hospital stays, and diagnostic medical tests, such as lab tests or x-rays. So primary medical insurance is a legal requirement for everyone who lives in BC, including international students. And primary medical insurance is provided through the BC Medical Services Plan, or BCMSP, as we commonly refer to it. So secondary medical insurance covers services that BCMSP does not. So those would be services such as dental care, vision care, extended health coverage, such as prescription drugs, counseling, massage therapy, things along the lines. So I will give an overview of primary medical insurance first, and then Ali will give you details about the secondary medical insurance plan that you will receive through SFU. So we will focus on primary medical insurance, the BC Medical Services Plan. And this is the Provincial Medical Services Plan, and it's administered by a government agency known as Health Insurance BC. So to reiterate, it is a legal requirement for everyone who lives in BC for longer than 6 months to enroll in it. So new students who are arriving in BC should apply for it right away. So it's roughly a 3-month waiting period before your BC MSP will become effective. And so to cover that waiting period, SFU provides a temporary plan called GovMate SFU, which we will talk about in a second. So to apply for BCMSP, your current study permit has to be valid for 6 months or longer. And then if you do have any dependents, you can also add them to your plan when you apply for BCMSP. So the cost of the BCMSP plan is $75 per month for all study permit holders, and it's called the International Student Health Fee. So once your BCMSP becomes effective, you will receive a monthly invoice, and you can make the payments online. So this charge does not appear on your SFU financial account. So you are in charge of making the monthly payments and maintaining your MSP account independently. And once you receive your MSP coverage, please make sure that you keep your MSP account updated as well. So as an international student, your MSP coverage will be only valid for the length of the study permit that you apply for BCMSP with. So if you end up renewing your study permit in the future, please also remember to extend your MSP coverage as well. And you can request for temporary MSP coverage if your current study permit had expired and you're waiting for a new study permit to be issued. So you can request for temporary MSP coverage for an initial period of 6 months. And then once you receive your new study permit, if you applied for your new study permit before your old study permit expired, you can extend your MSP coverage for the length of the validity of your new study permit. So managing your MSP account also entails updating your address if you move so that you won't miss out on any important correspondence from Health Insurance BC, and also making sure that you are making your monthly payments. And you can do all of this by visiting the MSP website online. And now we can talk about the GuardMe at SFU plan, which is the temporary primary medical insurance plan that SFU provides in your first term. So the goal of the GuardMe plan is to ensure you have coverage while you're waiting for your BCMSP to be effective in case there are any medical emergencies during that time. So as international students at SFU, you will be automatically enrolling the GuardMe plan only for your first term. So we won't be enrolling you in any subsequent terms. The cost of the plan is $281. It will be part of your fall term fees. And at the beginning of the term, you will receive an email from GuardMe directly with a link to log into your account. So when you log into your GuardMe portal, you'll be able to see all the policy details. You'll be able to see your healthcare access card, which is your proof of GuardMe insurance. And then if you do need to submit any claims throughout that first term, you can do that online as well. If you do have any dependent family members, you can also enroll them in the GuardMe plan at an additional cost once you receive your policy details. So the GuardMe plan will be valid from September 1st to December 31st. So Jitendra talked earlier about, arriving earlier than that to establish yourself. So if you do arrive in BC earlier than September 1st, you can apply for early arrivals insurance, which you can purchase yourself from the GuardMe website to cover you until your plan begins on September 1st. So it's also possible that you already have valid BCMSP if you've been living in BC for a while. For example, you could be transferring from FIC or another post-secondary institution. So if you already have valid BCMSP, you can opt out of the GuardMe plan, save $281. To do that, you have to opt out by providing proof of your MSP coverage before September 30th. And if you're going to be a brand new BC resident, you may be eligible for a partial refund if you apply for BCMSP and you receive it and opt out before November 30th. So another reason to apply for BCMSP as soon as possible. And you can also opt out on the GuardMe website to be eligible for a partial refund or a full refund. You must have not used your GuardMe plan. So that was a lot of information about primary medical insurance, but if I could whittle it down to 3 points to really hammer down the major takeaways, it would be that your GuardMe plan is temporary. It is only for your first term. Sometimes it's a misconception students have that they will have GuardMe throughout their time at SFU, which is not the case. It is only for your first term. So BCMSP is a legal requirement. I need to make sure that you will have valid BCMSP by the time your GuardMe plan expires after your first term to make sure that you will have continuous primary medical insurance coverage. Please also make sure that you maintain your MSP and avoid any lapses in coverage. So each time your status in Canada changes, if you renew your study permit, if you obtain a post-graduation work permit in the future, make sure you extend your MSP coverage each time as well. Okay, so that covers everything about primary medical insurance. And I'll now hand it over to Ali to talk about secondary medical insurance.
Thank you so much, Ishani. Hi, everyone. My name is Ali once again, and I'm joining you on behalf of Student Care. Student Care is the administrator for the SFU Undergraduate Student Health and Dental Plan. Like Ishani mentioned, health insurance in Canada comes in two parts. You've got the primary health insurance and secondary health insurance. Ishani gave you a wonderful explanation on how primary health insurance works. We will be talking about the secondary health insurance exclusively. So secondary health insurance is really there to fill in the gaps that exist in primary health insurance. So whether you're covered by BCMSP or GuardMe, there are certain gaps that exist in primary health insurance, and you are not covered comprehensively, and that's why you have the secondary health insurance to fill in those gaps. I will quickly note that the secondary health insurance, the SFSS Health and Dental Plan, otherwise known as, is provided to you by the Simon Fraser Student Society. So that is your undergraduate student society, and all students are already sort of automatically enrolled in this. And student care is simply your plan administrator. And like Ishani mentioned, but worth noting once again, international students are required to enroll into BCMSP as soon as you arrive into the country, and you will be activated after the waiting period. And so please keep in mind that both these plans work hand in hand. One doesn't necessarily replace the other. You are required to have both primary and secondary health insurance. In the next slide, we will talk about the coverage that the secondary health insurance, the SFSS Health and Dental Plan, provides you. You can see your coverage comes in four broad categories over here. You've got a health plan to cover you for things such as prescription drugs. So for example, if you go to the doctor, you will use your GuardMe/MSP. And then if the doctor gives you any prescriptions, you are going to use your SFSS Health and Dental Plan to claim for any prescription drugs. Same goes for vaccinations. If you need to see any mental health practitioners, so psychologists and counselors will be covered under this portion as well. And then other supplementary health practitioners, things like physiotherapists, chiropractors, massage therapists, and so forth. You also have a dental plan that will cover you for things like checkups, cleanings, fillings, root canals, gum treatments, periodontic and endodontic services. A vision plan if you need to get your eyes checked, get a new pair of glasses or contact lenses. And then you've got travel insurance that covers you for medical emergencies, illnesses, and injuries that you experience when you're traveling out of Canada, whether it is an academic or non-academic trip. Please review all the coverage details for this on the Student Care website. I've hyperlinked the website down there, studentcare.ca. In the drop-down menu, you will select SFSS, and you will see sort of the breakdown of each of these coverage. There are certain maximums and limitations that exist for each of these benefits, so I advise you to review those before you access or claim any of these benefits, just to avoid any kind of any surprises later on. In the next slide, we'll talk about the cost of the health and dental plan. So for a 12-month period, starting from September 1st until August 31st of 2025, students will be billed automatically an amount of $267.08 into your tuition fee. And you will see the breakdown according to health and dental plan like you see on the screen over here. So all eligible students will be automatically enrolled and will be paying this amount in their tuition fees, and you will be covered for a 12-month period. If there are any of you here who would like to enroll your family members into the plan, you have the opportunity to do that. You can enroll one dependent for an additional $267, which you will pay separately and online through studentcare.ca. And if you have unlimited dependents, you can add them for $534. And that will be for a full year as well. This is done manually and has to be done during the change of coverage period, which I will talk about in the next slide. So like I mentioned earlier, the coverage period will start on September 1st, 2024, and will go on for 12 months until August 31st, 2025. And the change of coverage period in the next slide over here are as follows. So for the fall term, all of you here are going to be beginning your studies in September. You will only be able to enroll your dependents into the plan if you wish to do so during this change of coverage period. So that's August 27th to September 17th, 2024. If any one of you here have an existing health and dental plan, whether that is provided to you by your parent, your spouse, your employer, or any other private plan that is equivalent to the SFSS Health and Dental Plan, so it is an extended or secondary medical insurance plan, you can opt out of the SFSS Health and Dental Plan and you will get your refund back. The opt-out process also has to be done during this coverage period from August 27th to September 17th. So please make sure if you are opting out or enrolling your dependents, you do that during this time period. And the process for doing that is through our website at studentcare.ca. You will simply upload a proof of your coverage and you will receive a credit in your tuition fee statement after a few weeks. So for those of you who will be keeping the plan, I'll talk about how you can claim and access your benefits. There are 3 ways in which you can do that. The first one is a pay direct card, and I encourage all students to explore this option first because it is the most seamless and easiest option to claim your benefits. You will be able to pick up a pay direct card from the ISS office or the student care office or at various points on campus. The pay direct card is simply a coverage card that you can keep with you in your wallet whenever you go to a dentist, a pharmacist, a physiotherapist, or any practitioner that offers direct billing services. You will present this pay direct card to them. They will bill the insurance company directly for whatever portion that you are covered for by your SFSS plan. You will only be responsible for paying the out-of-pocket section of the coverage. And so for that, you will just need to write down your student nine-digit student ID in the card, and then you can keep this card with you at all times. In case the pay direct card option doesn't work and you are required to pay the full amount upfront, you can submit your claim online using the Pacific Blue Cross mobile app. You will download the mobile app, register your account or your profile using your SFU student ID, your first name, your last name, and your email address. Once you have registered, you'll be able to submit your claims online. You can simply take a picture of your receipt, register for direct deposit, and your reimbursement will be deposited into your bank account. And then the third option is through submitting online forms. So you can find those forms on our website. You're going to print it out, fill out all the details, and then mail it to Pacific Blue Cross. This option is obviously more cumbersome, but it's there as a last resort if you require to, or if you prefer to use that option. But please use the pay direct card option first because it is the most seamless way to do that. You can also find a digital copy of the pay direct card on the website and take a screenshot if you prefer to do that. So go to studentcare.ca and you can find it there. In the next slide, we will talk about the blackout period. So considering that all of you here are new students who are going to be enrolled in the SFSS Health and Dental Plan for the very first time, everyone who is enrolled in the plan for the first time will experience a blackout period for the first 2 months. So the blackout period is essentially the time that the insurance company is still uploading your information into the database. And so they might not be able to approve your claims, or they might not be able to verify that you are indeed covered by the plan, and they might not be able to reimburse you for any of those claims. So if you take your pay direct card and you go to a dentist or a pharmacist or any practitioner within the first 2 months, so in September and October, they might not be able to look you up in the system because it might show that you're not covered. There's nothing to worry about as long as you have paid the $267 in your tuition fee. You know you are covered by the plan. Once the blackout period is over, you will be able to submit your claims online and get your reimbursement. So you won't be able to, for instance, also register your Pacific Blue Cross member profile through the app during that blackout period. But once your information has been uploaded on the database on Pacific Blue Cross's side, you will be able to claim your benefits and access your plan as usual. So during the blackout period, it doesn't mean that you are not covered. You are still covered. However, you might just be required to pay out of pocket and then save those receipts. And once the blackout period is over, you can submit those receipts online and get your reimbursement submitted to you. In the next slide, we'll talk about the BC Fair Pharmacare. BC Fair Pharmacare is a requirement that all students are supposed to enroll in. For those of you who are enrolling in BCMSP, you will also be able to simultaneously, within the same portal, enroll for BC Fair Pharmacare. It is all within the same government offering or platform. And so it's basically a prescription drugs program that the province of British Columbia has implemented for everyone who has MSP, who can get certain prescription drugs reimbursed through the Fair Pharmacare program, and the remainder of that will be reimbursed through your secondary or extended health insurance program. I will note that since all of you here are new international students who are coming to Canada, you might not be able to register for Fair Pharmacare immediately because you don't have a tax return, and BC Fair Pharmacare requires you to have a tax return to be able to prove your income eligibility to apply for BC Fair Pharmacare. In that situation, you have two options. The first is you just let MSP or BC Fair Pharmacare know that you don't have a tax return yet, and they will guide you through the next steps on what to do. Alternatively, you can reach out to Student Care either through our assistance center, which I will share with you towards the end of this presentation, or you can come to our office on campus, and we will be able to waive this BC Fair Pharmacare requirement for the first year, and then you will enroll for BC Fair Pharmacare the following year. So please look out. We will be sending you an email about this as well. So keep an eye out for that information and stay up to date. Next thing, we will talk about student care networks and how these can be beneficial to you. Student care networks are essentially a group of practitioners who have agreed to provide students with savings and discounts on top of what your plan covers you for, so that you can minimize your out-of-pocket costs when you are accessing your health and dental benefits at one of these practitioners' office. I will note it is not compulsory for you to go to any practitioner who is part of the student care network. You can certainly go to any practitioner as long as they are licensed and registered to operate. But these networks will certainly save you some money and give you some discounted rates and be beneficial. So in the next slide over here, I'll give you a demonstration on how that works. For the dental plan, for instance, your plan covers you for 70% of preventative services. The network will give you a 30% discount on top of that 70%. And so at the end of the day, you will be covered at 100% and you will be paying zero out of pocket. The same formula applies for basic services. Your plan covers you at 60%. You will get a 20% discount. And so your coverage will come up to 80%. And then you would only pay the remainder 20% out of pocket instead of paying the remainder 40%. In the next slide, I'll give you a sort of some information on the other network that exists for pharmacy. We have a Rexall pharmacy network that exists that gives you another 20% discount on top of your out-of-pocket costs when you are accessing your prescription drugs through Rexall. And so you can access your prescription drugs and you will get up to $40 off on your out-of-pocket costs for every prescription that you access at the pharmacy. In case you're not feeling well and you'll prefer the prescription drugs to be delivered to your doorstep, you can register for Rexall Direct as well, and Rexall will be able to deliver those prescription drugs to your front door. And then there's other networks that are also available for you to take advantage of, such as psychology, vision, chiropractic, and physiotherapy. I won't go through this line by line. You'll be able to find all this information on the website studentcare.ca, but please note that they do exist and you can save some money and get some discounted rates for all of your health and dental benefits through these networks here. And that's really a summary of the extended or secondary medical insurance that is provided to you by the Simon Fraser Student Society. In case you have any questions after today's presentation, we are located in the Student Union Building, room 2301. So please come by there between 9 to 5 and our agents will be happy to help you out here. I've linked our website here, studentcare.ca, or alternatively, you can scan that QR code. It'll take you to our homepage, and helpful to bookmark that page so you can easily refer back to it. And if you'd like to take a screenshot of the PayDirect card, please scan that QR code and it will take you to the PayDirect card. Take a screenshot, keep it in your favorites, or bookmark it in your phone so you can easily come back to it. And with that, I will pass it back to Ishani.
Thanks so much,
Ali. Thank you so much, Ellie. We love working with student care, and yes, look ahead to some really amazing support and services and get your questions answered. So at the start of the session, we gave an overview of the topics that our unit, International Services for Students, ISS, can directly assist you with. So please reference those slides. I think they're like number 7 and 8. But right now, Ishani, can you now share what other key units and resources that new students can be aware of when they come to SFU?
Yes, so when you start SFU, you'll find that SFU is pretty compartmentalized with a lot of units providing specialized services. So as Zorin mentioned, students can come to our office for advice about medical insurance and immigration requirements. And likewise, there are many other units doing different things. So I'll list out key resources new international students should know about. So if you do have any questions regarding your application status or your admission offer, you'll have to contact the undergraduate admissions department. And then if you're thinking about deferring or postponing your start term, Jitendra mentioned the deadline earlier as well, but you will need to contact the undergraduate office department directly. And in terms of academics, quite a bit of you had questions about course enrollment, how to go about planning your courses, how does registration work. So unfortunately, international student advisors are not qualified to provide advice on academics, but SFU does have a dedicated team of academic advisors who will be able to assist you with these type of questions. So once you have your SFU computing ID activated, you can access this platform called Advisor Link, and you'll see your specific academic advisors who will be able to answer questions regarding course planning, academic difficulties, switching measures, anything along those lines. You can also make appointments to see advisors directly using Advisor Link as well. And along the same vein of academics, there are 3 online courses, UPrep 1, UPrep 2, and SFU 101, that have been developed specifically for new undergraduate students to give you an introduction to SFU. So collectively, these courses cover everything from course terminology to how to build up a schedule, to degree planning and faculty events. So we encourage you to explore these resources once you get the invitation to access them. And the Center for Accessible Learning, or the CAL, make every effort to assist students with disabilities so they can achieve their educational goals. So their disability access advisors will help students establish accommodations such as classrooms and exam modifications. So if you're a student with a suspected or a documented disability, please do get in touch with the CAL as early as possible so they will have enough time to work with you to set those accommodations in place by the time the term begins. And if you're planning on living on campus, you have questions about the residence application, your waitlist number, or moving instructions, you will have to contact the SFU Residence and Housing Department. And if you're planning to live off campus, the SFU Residence web lists some resources, including this organization named Places for Students, which list out rental properties around the different SFU campuses. So you can check out the SFU website, the residence website for that. And if you're wondering about scholarships, bursaries, and other financial supports available for international students, you will have to contact the Financial Aid and Awards Department because they administer all financial aid. And Career and Volunteer Services offer a variety of services for students related to work search and career development. So everything from career exploration relating to your majors to updating your LinkedIn profile. So you can get in touch with them to learn about part-time job opportunities that are available for SFU students as well. And finally, there's health and counseling services that operate 2 medical clinics out of the Burnaby and Vancouver campuses. If you ever need to see any health practitioners during your time at SFU, you will also have access to a transition case manager, Ricky, who we work very closely with, and he works exclusively with international students. They also offer counseling services, including the MySSP app, which is free and available for use 24/7 in multiple languages, wherever you are in the world.
Thank you, Ishan. Yeah, so your transition into this new life experience as a student at SFU can be both an exciting but also a challenging one. But don't worry, we at International Services for Students are ready to support you. And Ishani, I think maybe you could share with us a little bit about some of the transition supports that ISS offers.
Yes, sir, and you took the word right out of my mouth. So we recognize that, while studying overseas is a very exciting step. Sometimes it is definitely challenging to leave your friends and family behind and get settled in a new country. And it's really important to build a community around you that supports you. And we have a dedicated space specifically for international students to foster those connections. And it's called the Global Student Center. So we host many social events to bring students together. And if you sign up for the Welcome Social as part of the International Student Orientation Series, it'll be taking place at the Global Student Center, the GSC, that as we commonly refer to it. So we routinely host some big socials centering around global cuisines, and these events tend to be very popular, as you can see from the pictures. So we are planning to host some of these events in the fall term as well, so do keep an eye out for those. But if you're more introverted and you like a quieter atmosphere, the lounge is open weekly for your use as well, if you would like to hang out in smaller groups, grab a snack, do your homework. So we do invite you to use the space and meet other students who use this space regularly as well. And in addition to the social events, we also offer support services for international students at the GSC. So we offer what's called the International Student Experience Support, where you will be able to make an appointment with either me or Hannah, who's also another International Student Experience Coordinator. And we can help you address any questions you're facing with transition or refer you to the appropriate people. You can also get academic writing support at the GSC to make sure that you're hitting all the targets that come with writing assignments. So these are some of our current friendly graduate writing facilitators who will work with you one-on-one. You don't need to make an appointment, just drop by at the GSC and you'll be able to get their consultations. We also have a career education specialist to talk about everything related to your career, to polish up your resume to meet Canadian standards, and learn about job search as well. And we are also launching English language circles in the fall term, where you'll be able to pair up with volunteers from the program to have casual conversations, practice your spoken language skills, and make friends along the way. So we really do encourage you to make use of these services that are available specifically for you. And I'll also like to highlight the social insurance number clinics, the SIM clinics that will be happening on September 6th and 9th. So please mark the dates. So as Jitendra mentioned earlier, you will need a social insurance number to work in Canada and to file taxes. So typically you would have to apply for it online and wait for it to arrive in the mail. But if you attend our SIM clinics, you'll be able to get this social insurance number on the spot if you have the correct documentation. So watch out for more details. ISS sends a bi-weekly newsletter, which has all those events listed out. So we highly encourage that you read those as well. So there's a lot going on at the GSC. You can check out our website to know when the GSC is open and what kind of support services are available each day. And I also want to mention that outside of the events that we host at the GSC, we also offer many virtual workshops on things like medical insurance, banking, taxes, to ease your transition and get settled in your new life in Canada. So you can also follow us on Instagram. Our handle is @SFU Global, so that you'll be in the know about what's coming up. Doreen.
Thank you. So we've just spent about an hour together, and this brings us to the end of the first part of our presentation. Thank you to all the panel members for the valuable information that's been shared. For those of you who are watching the recorded version, thank you for watching, and please do get in touch with us if you have any further questions. We will end the recording now. And we were thinking perhaps to take a short break, and then when we get back,